Live now. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. So excited to have you here today to talk about today's microlearning, which is how to post content on LinkedIn that helps you, elevate your content creation on LinkedIn. Before we start, for those who are either on the live Zoom audience or if you're watching this via live stream, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, etc., or I guess it's called X now, please introduce yourselves in the comment or chat wherever you're at, your name, what city you're coming from, and if you want to broaden your LinkedIn connections and community, please put in your LinkedIn profile so that you can connect to the broader community. And feel free to ask questions in the comments. This is more like a conversation. So if you have a question for Jeremy or myself, please let us know in the comments. Even if you're watching via live stream, we want you engaged and interacting as well. So this is a microlearning. What's a microlearning? It's a training and development that focuses on offering bite-sized, small learning units with just the right amount of information to help our learners achieve a specific goal. This is not a webinar where you passively listen. We want you engaged in the conversation, in the chats, talking. If you have advice to share, a book you want to recommend, let us know in the chat. You are part of this conversation as well. And here's the thing, we have homework for you. We want you to take 1 to 2, 3 actions after we hang up. We want you to implement at least one concept learned from today's conversation within 24 hours. Before we start, and for those who are in the live Zoom audience, if you feel comfortable, if you can turn on your videos right now, that would be really helpful. We usually do a quick kind of interview. So top right-hand side, if you can put this in gallery mode so we kind of see each other, kind of like the Brady Bunch. Hi, everyone. So turn on your videos if you feel comfortable, and we always do a quick quiz beforehand, okay? So if you are watching this via live stream, I want you to answer yes or no in the comments, okay? So we want you participating as well. I'm going to ask you questions. You type in your answer in the comments if you are on the live stream. And for those who are in the live Zoom audience, if the answer is yes, put both hands like this. Got it? Okay, first question. Have you ever posted on LinkedIn? Do you post daily or about daily? Whether you post or not, are you afraid of posting on LinkedIn? Because you could post every day and still be scared. And I want you to kind of answer these questions in your head. No hands needed. If you feel afraid posting on LinkedIn, why? And if you don't post on LinkedIn, why? Ask this in your head. You can answer this in your head. And from 1 to 10, for those who have posted in a typical week, how many posts do you post? So each finger would be 1. I post about 7 to 8 times a week. So how many times do you post? Awesome. Okay. Top right-hand side, I want you to put this in speaker mode, so you should just see me. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for your frank answers. It still surprises me that I post every day and I still sometimes question when I post things. But I think this is going to be such an important conversation for all of us today. The focus on today's micro-learning, as I mentioned earlier, is how to master meaningful content creation with Jeremy Boissonnault. For those who are new to Community of 7 micro-learnings, the purpose is really to help our listeners elevate their mindset and their skill set by bringing in leading executives, thought leaders, coaches, founders, and subject matter experts. Our goal is really to democratize leadership development for all. That's why we make these micro-learnings open to the public and free. And I want to thank Community of 7's core members and supporter members for making this possible. So I don't know how many of you are introverts, but I was a introvert and had social anxiety when I was younger. So I've always thought of myself as more of the behind the scenes kind of person. Though our community that watches our live streams, our Community of Seven live streams, and interact in our social posts are pretty varied. We got some extroverts, introverts, ambiverts, and we span the continent. I like to think that many of you guys are like me, the introverts, the empaths, the givers in the world. As such, I posted on LinkedIn today. I don't know if you've seen it. Sorry for the repetition, but I posted this image that I had seen online, and it was an image that simply said, "Rest in peace to the opportunities we missed because of shyness and low self-esteem." That hit hard. I'm not going to read the whole thing in terms of my post, but I want to share some of it because I think it's really relevant for this conversation. Stop hiding behind your fears. Worse, letting other people take credit for your hard-earned work. Ask yourself this: as I promote others, who is building my personal brand? Who is ensuring my success? Let me share this sobering fact. No one will advocate for your career as much as you will. No one. So earlier in my career, I was told I wasn't a good writer, that I wasn't leadership material, that I wasn't a dynamic speaker. Today, I'm a professional speaker and focused on leadership mindset development. I have a book, Do This Daily, and I just got I guess the sample copy today, Secrets to Finding Success, Happiness, and Purpose in Work and Life, and it's coming out April 2nd. But here's the thing, I didn't wait for someone to validate me. I just wrote the book. And I hope you that are listening today don't wait for someone to give you permission to post on LinkedIn today. Don't let those who don't believe in you make you a believer. On the contrary, you should always be your biggest cheerleader. It can be difficult to stifle the noise and do what's initially uncomfortable for you, but I promise that once you do, the world opens up and it gets easier. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. So take that first step, then keep on going. So I didn't earnestly post as myself Lan Fan until almost 2 years ago. I was at home with my mom who has advanced dementia. And I just remember seeing her and asking myself, who's going to tell my story? And I realized that I was making myself small. And I had internalized a lot of the self-doubt that others have imposed on me, whether it was teachers, parents, bosses, etc. And there was this realization that I wasn't just afraid to post because I was an introvert. I was afraid to post because I doubted myself. I was like, who cares what I think? Why does it matter? And in response to my post, Casey, I'm going to read Casey O had responded to my post today. And Casey O, I'm going to read it if you don't mind. I was one of the invisible ones until I became a mother. I realized that I couldn't hide, especially when I am always teaching my children the importance of being their authentic selves. Let's have our true colors shine through in everything we do. So I think that's like a powerful premise. If you cannot do it for yourself, if you cannot value your voice, then do it for others. How can you help others? And that was kind of the pivotal moment when I started to really start posting every day. Prior to that, I had been posting as my company, Community of Seven. And some of you guys follow Community of Seven, but maybe not necessarily my post. But I was hiding behind the shadows, right? And then I really started to think, well, what would my daughter think? She's watching me, right? And so the whole notion of posting on LinkedIn and social felt kind of icky and self-serving. And that's just not who I am. And so I reframed it and I was like, what if I could just help one person reading my post? What if I could change one life? Just one person reading my post. And I think there's this misconception that you need to have thousands and thousands of followers and all of these likes and all of these comments. I know that's how I felt initially. When I was first posting, I would maybe get 1 or 2 likes, and usually that was my brother Van that was liking my post, and some of my friends like Barbara out in Atlanta. Um, and it can feel kind of self-conscious. But when I reframe things and kind of just focused on how can I help others, it really opened things for me. And so I'm not going to really talk about the whole why it's important, but I could kind of run the whole gamut in terms of career development, helping others, the fact that you can really, in terms of businesses, elevate your career, find your next opportunity, thought leadership, personal branding. I mean, it goes down. There's so many different reasons why you should be posting. And that's why I have Jeremy today. So before I introduce him, in the chat right now, don't press send till I tell you. And if you're watching this via live stream, I want you to answer this in the comment section. Okay. So answer this question in the chat or in the comments. In your opinion, why are you afraid of posting on LinkedIn? In your opinion, why are you afraid of posting on LinkedIn? And if you're not, I want you to write, I stopped being afraid when I did this. So for me, I stopped being afraid of posting on LinkedIn when I started to write for others. Okay, so type that into the comment or the chat. I'm going to count down and you're going to press send. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Press send. I stopped being afraid when I realized that you can't wait for perfection. I love that, Jeff. Imposter syndrome. I'm not afraid, but a bit shy, afraid of judgment from others. When I learned how to repost, that's a good one, right? I stopped being afraid when I spoke from my heart. I stopped being afraid when I realized my value. I'm afraid of what people think. I'm seeing a lot of nodding heads because I think there's a lot that resonate here. Fear of what others think, especially my detractors, employers. And I stopped being afraid when I realized that I had good things to say. Oh my gosh, that just makes me so happy. I stopped being afraid when I realized that people are viewing and following, waiting for updates, but I just don't know it because there were no likes. And that's a good point. And I was just talking to my friend Tracy. If you are in HR, she's a CEO of Troop HR. It's an HR community. And we talked about this exact same thing. I have a monthly call with her. And she was like, I post and sometimes there's no engagement, but I know it works because I get customers and leads. And that's the thing. Sometimes people are reading your comments, but they're not engaged. They're lurkers, right? So for those who are kind of posting but not getting the likes or the comments, remember what I just said. If you can help one person reading your post, will it be worth it? Even if they might not like or engage or comment, you could be providing tremendous, tremendous value. Okay, so I am going to thank you so much for sharing all of that. That was super powerful. So I'm so excited to introduce today's guest, Jeremy Boissonnault. Jeremy is a serial entrepreneur and the founder of Favicon, a creator-ranked platform that helps people and founders identify niche influencers. Favicon is a pioneering AI powered creator marketing tool designed for optimizing influencer and social media strategy. With his extensive experience in the digital marketing sphere and a deep understanding of AI's role in content creation, Jeremy brings invaluable insights into the art of meaningful content creation on LinkedIn. He's viewed over 100,000 creators this past year. So if there is an expert on LinkedIn, this is your guy. So round of applause. Hello, Jeremy. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here, and it was a very powerful speech. Yeah, it's even for myself, it's driving me to create even more content in the next few weeks. And I apologize in advance for my sick French accent. For the anecdote, I actually studied at the University of Michigan, and I bought a book, How to Get an American Accent, and it was a huge scam, as you can see, because I never managed to get rid of it. But yeah, I'm
But
dealing with
if
it.
you're reading it, no one can hear your accent.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why I started writing, because when you write on LinkedIn now, people can't know how French I sound.
Trust me, though, Americans love French accents,
I
so
know.
you got it.
Trust me, I know. I've been there. So yeah,
Uh,
thank you so much. Just for the anecdote, going back on what you were saying about people are lurkers on LinkedIn. A few weeks ago, I wrote a post, and it was a huge flop. Like I was so depressed because it took me so long to write it. I thought it was super cool, and I was on the verge of actually deleting it. And I was like, okay, never mind, just keep it that way. And it turns out a few weeks later, I got in touch with a big CEO from Brazil who
yeah.
actually read this post, but he
Wow.
didn't like it or anything. He didn't comment on anything. And for us, we got a huge deal because of this post. So if I actually removed the post, like you
Yeah.
would have never seen. So this kind of anecdote shows you that on LinkedIn, people are looking, like reading your posts way more than you think. So especially on LinkedIn, the engagement is super low compared to other platforms. So you should never pay too much attention when it comes to likes, comments, shares. And I'm sure Daniel will agree with me because
Yeah.
he's adamant about it.
I love that. And it's interesting too. It's like, and if you don't feel comfortable posting, interacting in the comments is so powerful. So I've gotten probably 10-15% of my speakers just from someone commenting on one of my posts. And so there's opportunities because I see their post. I'm like, oh, that's a very articulate answer. And I'll check their profile and I'm like, oh, look at they are a trauma expert or they are a, work-life balance expert or a sleep expert. I mean, I've literally gotten 15% of my speakers straight from someone interacting in the comments. And so when you think about thought leadership, it's not just posting, it's also engaging with other people. And the way we connected, Jeremy. So I was honored, like probably in October or I forget when. It was like sometime last year. You had linked me because I was in one of the top 100 for Fabicon's list of creators, and that's not something I expected. But I thought it was really interesting because then I started reading through your content, and I thought it was really valuable, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you here. Um, because one of the one of the things you had said on Twitter last year really resonated with me. Is it okay if I read your
Yeah, sure, go
work?
for it.
Okay.
I don't know what you mentioned.
So I've analyzed, this is in the voice of Jeremy. I've without a French accent. I've analyzed thousands of social media profiles. I can confidently say if a creator has the word influencer or their number of followers in their bio, they're really not influential at all.
No, but it's true. There is a strict correlation. I'm convinced. And I think people from India are in the chat, and it was like way worse for India when we released the top. They all had like this number of followers in the description, but it doesn't make sense. You don't define yourself by your number of followers or by your audience. You define yourself with like what you do I don't know, with your passion, with your job, whatever, but not the number of followers. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. Um, it's really interesting because there's that trend. I mean, like I know for me as an introvert, I felt so uncomfortable posting because I don't consider myself an influencer. I don't consider myself even a content creator. If you know, I like helping people. And I think sometimes that initial barrier, and I don't know if the people who are on this call feel the same way, but you feel kind of like a fraud. Like, what am I to post, something? And I think part of that is, how do you get past that barrier? What recommendation would you have for people who are just kind of starting off and creating content on LinkedIn to like why should they create content? And also, why did you choose LinkedIn? Because I know you mainly focus on LinkedIn, your company. Is that correct? Or do you focus on other
Right
platforms?
now, we're focusing heavily on LinkedIn because there's a huge opportunity when it comes to creators, because nothing has been done in this space. Because, like you said, LinkedIn creators, it's basically a new thing. Like, there was no
Yeah.
such thing as a LinkedIn creator or influencer like 2, 3, or 4 years ago. So that's a huge opportunity in the space right now for everybody listening. There's no competition whatsoever when you compare LinkedIn to Instagram or Twitter or YouTube or all the big social medias right now. There's so much self censorship when it comes to
Mm.
posting on LinkedIn that
Yeah.
you have like literally like such a big opportunity to have people actually read your content. And so
Hmm.
that's the first reason why you should definitely express yourself. So because the audience is there and the competition is way, way lower than on other social medias. And you were mentioning Twitter. Right now, it's super difficult to build an audience because
Yeah.
the social media has been around for like 15 years. There's already lots of people with a big audience, so it's super difficult. So that's the first reason. And the second reason you should really ask yourself is, you really have nothing to lose. Like, if people don't see your post because you're flopping, like by nature, no one's gonna see it. So there's nothing to be scared of. And
Right.
when you understand this mindset, it's much easier. Like, okay, I'm gonna post, no one's gonna see it. So okay, I just keep doing
You,
it.
you make you make such a good point, Jeremy, because like people are like, I'm so embarrassed about posting, but like if no one's seeing your content, you have nothing to be embarrassed about. That's
Yeah,
the worst thing that could happen,
exactly.
right?
And also, you're overestimating what people think of. It's a traditional, I don't know, psychology thing, or people think that all the people are going to judge you, but no one cares. Like, no one cares. That everybody's focused on their own game, on their own
Yeah.
job or whatever daily task. They're not gonna like spend even like 10 seconds saying, "Wow, this post is so bad. Wow, what a shitty creator." No one cares, really. So it's just like you have everything to gain by posting
Yeah.
on LinkedIn, because it's going to drive you so many opportunities. Can be personal. You can make friends. And like, I know many people on LinkedIn. They've made really good friends through their to posting on LinkedIn. They've also managed to get super nice opportunities when it comes to professional careers. Like, for instance, us at Savicon, if you have like a good LinkedIn profile, if you create content, your value is going to go really, really up. And I know it's the same for many, many HR managers. This kind of people are going to really, it's going to be only a plus for you if you create content. So again, you have nothing to lose. And when it comes to being interesting, we are all interesting in our own way. The mistake most people do is they try to copy past content from the most successful creators, and that's a trap many people fall into. And they should never, ever do that. You should really follow your own path. You're interesting because you're yourself, and the more personal you're gonna get, the more interesting you're gonna be. And people somehow think that by copying the best creators out there, the most popular ones, they're going to be interesting. But no, they're not popular because they create a specific kind of content. They're popular because they're famous. They speak about they have their own storytelling. So just find your own path. That'd be
I
my
love
number one advice.
I love that. I want to read some comments to Stephanie Lopez. Thank you for this meeting. Andrea Skolkernek. I met one of my best friends on LinkedIn. That's amazing, right? To me, posting makes me feel so exposed. I'll interact in the comments on occasion, but I'm definitely more of a lurker for right now. Daniel, create content to have connected human conversations with others, human beings that share the love and passion that you have right now. I love that. So Jeremy, you've studied over 100,000 creators on LinkedIn this past year while you were doing all of the global lists. What makes a successful creator? Like, what are there any kind of common traits? And I know you kind of have the top list, but then you also have it kind of based on different categories like DEI or leadership or whatnot. What is like the common thread? If you were to look at a creator, what are some of the common traits that they have?
I mean, it's gonna sound cliche, but you need to be there. You need to post on a regular basis. You need to, I mean, you should never force yourself to be like, okay, I need to post every day or like 10 times a week. If you think the good rhythm for you is like 3 times a week, go with 3 times a week. It's good enough. What's really important is to set up, like a regular schedule, which you're gonna stick to, because what I've noticed from other regions is that people love stability. So if you post every Tuesday and keep doing that way for weeks, and people are gonna be used to having you in their feeds. And this is the way you're gonna be able to build up a community, to build up an audience, because people are going to get used to your content. But again, it's a long-term game. You can't expect to have results in the first few weeks. And I think that's the hard part, because people who are making it on LinkedIn and on social media in general are people who are sticking it out. It's not cliche at all. Like the common character I find with influencers from all countries, because like you said, we've been doing tops from all regions, and it's always the people who've been around for a while, who just keep doing it every day or every 2 days or whatever, but they're always here and they never give up. Because at some point, like I told you 2 months ago, I almost deleted a post. Even myself, like I've been in the game now for 2 years, and even myself, I got kind of like demoralized, because you spend so much time on something, and then you want something thing to be big, and then you're kind of disappointed. But never ever do that. Just keep doing what you do, and at some point it's going to pay off if you find your personal tone, if you find your own direction. And that's really the thing that's really important, is to have credibility in what you do. That'd be that's something I've noticed in all, like, the creators from all countries. And this personal stuff, this personal touch, you need to find it. What's really special about you? Is there something you really want to focus on? And I think before even you start to get serious on LinkedIn, you need to ask yourself this question. So who am I? What am I good at? You're good at something, I'm sure. You're good at, it can be writing, it can be at like storytelling, it can be at your job, it can be in expertise. There's so many things to write on. I'm sure there's something you can find.
Love that. I think you make a really good point in that it's about consistency, and the people who are successful are the ones who have consistently posted for whether a year or 2 year or whatnot. I think it's also important to note that it's not too late for those who might want to just start posting today or whatnot. That LinkedIn, as you mentioned, is still nascent, right? It's still probably of all of the different social platforms like Instagram or YouTube. And I post in probably all the platforms, and LinkedIn is my favorite. It's probably more the style of LinkedIn, like people want deeper content, right? Whereas Instagram is more visual. YouTube is, there's a lot of kind of the younger generation kind of watching it, like my daughter right now, who's generation Alpha A or whatever it is. And so the content that resonates are more like Mr. Beast, etc. on YouTube. Um, so it's not too late for the folks who are kind of watching it.
It's super early. Like, honestly, I don't think we're still at the very beginning of LinkedIn, of
Yeah,
B2B, what I would call like writing social medias. There's never been something like LinkedIn before,
yeah,
because Twitter was always, this short form
content, yeah.
content. But LinkedIn is going to be even bigger in the next few years. So definitely not too early to get started.
Yeah. Um, so in terms of like how to be kind of effective on LinkedIn, how do you get companies and leaders to notice you? Like, I don't know if that's an answer that you feel comfortable answering with, but like, because I know you are kind of B2B and you're looking for customers as well. Like, what works?
Be interesting. I mean,
Be
be interesting. That should be your number one priority. Is to be honest with yourself. I always try to be honest with myself. For instance, when I'm done with a post, with the draft, I'm like, okay, if I don't know, this, who I'm trying to attract, would I be interested in this post? Be honest with yourself. And most of the time, you'd be surprised. If you do this little game, you'd be like, okay, no, that's not that deep. That's not that interesting. I need to find another angle or something. So yeah, be interesting. Like you mentioned before, it's not enough to post content. You need to be also active a little bit on the other posts. What the thing is, people get confused when they get told that they need to comment on the other posts because they think they can comment anything.
Yeah.
You've seen the surge of AI generated comments, which is really a plague right now on LinkedIn. Don't do that, but be interesting in your comments as well.
Are
So
people
if you,
actually paying like or
uh,
bots to comment on their post?
not under their own posts, but they
Yeah.
pay, like they literally have their lists of influencers they want to reach, like I don't know, 20 or 30 people, and they pay these products so that they comment automatically with ChatGPT under their post. And
Oh,
it
wow.
shows like big time, but I mean, I'm sure everybody here who's posted content on LinkedIn have had this kind of comment, like, great post, thank you so much, this kind of stuff. This is not interesting at all. So you need to be interesting in your
Yeah.
post, and you need to be interesting in your comments, and don't try to be like to do like 50 comments or something. Just 10 comments a day is enough. It can literally take you 10 minutes if you have some discipline. You spend 10 minutes with 10 people you want to reach. You prepare your comment, and that's it. Takes you like 20 minutes to do the whole exercise. So yeah, that'd be my obsession if I were to get started from scratch, is to try to be interesting under either an expertise or around the storytelling around myself. So I'm sure again, all of you, if you don't have like a specific expertise, you have your own personality, you have your own career around which you can create easily content and in the end be interesting, because people are interested in stories. They're interested in what you have to say about even things that for you seem really mundane. People are interested because, again, there are not that many people who actually do this on LinkedIn. So between someone who actually tell about their lives and someone who just share their careers updates, their CVs, their resumes, you're gonna be like 20 times more interesting than these kind of people. So once you have this mindset, it's gonna be way easier for you to express yourselves, to put it
Yeah.
simply.
I think what's kind of helped me is just that question of, okay, how can I help someone reading this post? And that's been kind of like the game changer for me. Like, how can I educate someone? How can I support someone? And when you have it like where you focus on your audience and you're like, how can I help this one person reading it? It for me, it's been really helpful, like in terms of creating content. So talking about creating content, so my friend Mina Malik, who's also kind of in the top 100 list for Fabicon,
Mhm.
we talk about this all the time, and I've had her on on our micro learning, and like her, she doesn't really have a social media calendar. I know for me, when I post, sometimes my daughter is in fourth grade right now, so there's a lot of driving her to meetings, or not meetings, driving her to like activities and all this other stuff. So 50-60% of my posts are literally me in the car waiting for her. Or when it's warmer, I usually take like a 30-40 minute walk after I drop her off at the bus station. And I'm literally posting while I'm walking. Um, and I know
What's
some people are more disciplined and they have a social media calendar. Is there an approach that you take and recommendation on how people should kind of figure out what they post daily or
No, but
bi-weekly?
that's super interesting. It's maybe counterintuitive, but the more you post, the easier it gets because then there's this mental exercise where like you said, you'll be I don't know like showering or driving your car, and you're gonna think about your post. Like it's gonna come naturally. Oh, I should post about this. And it's really always at the moments you never expect that you're gonna have a great idea. For instance, I'm a biker, so I love to bike in the streets of Paris, and it's always when I'm biking that I have these ideas coming up because it's just I'm never in front of a computer thinking about okay, what am I gonna post? No, it's always at these moments that you get the most creative. So when you know that you're gonna post every day, when it gets into like a habit, it's like sport. It's like when you start working out. At the beginning, it's gonna be super difficult to be motivated, but after a few months, it's gonna turn into a habit, and you're never gonna ask yourself, okay, should I go to the gym? You're just gonna go to the gym because it's gonna turn into a habit. So you need to be in this mindset, and once you've reached it, it's so much easier. Really, it's super easier. Like I know it sounds cliche, but if you force yourself, like at the gym, after a few months, all the posts, you're gonna have too many ideas. Literally, you're gonna have too many ideas. You're gonna have your app on your iPhone, and you're gonna start writing down ideas for posts because you're gonna have these ideas coming up. Just write them down, and you're gonna have like a 15 or 20 ideas stacked because you're always into this mindset.
Yeah, one of my college professors at Stanford had this really great, I guess, quote. And when we were writing, it was English class. He would say, "Write for the wastebasket," which is too many times we want perfection, and so we don't even start because we have all of these. What am I going to? And his thing was write for the wastebasket, and so. And I think that might be why it's helpful when I'm in my car waiting for my daughter. I'm not really caring about writing the perfect post. For those of you who've read my posts, I have a lot of typos a lot of times because literally I'm walking or I'm like not spell checking. I'm like literally in my car in between meetings. So I'll just post something up with spelling errors and I'll come back later and kind of fix those errors. So that whole notion of like letting go of perfection, just writing the content is super helpful. I want to read some comments here. Daniel Hall, social media vanity metrics are eating away at humanity's mental health. There is definitely a better way to measure social media metrics, quality over quantity. It's great to see that Favicon hyper-focused on these connected human conversations. So the work you're doing is great. And I know tell me a little bit more about Favicon. Because it's not just based on pure numbers, because there's definitely more creators that have way more followers than I that might not have been on the list. How did you kind of determine like the different metrics in terms of engagement or whatnot? Like how was the list kind of selected? Because there's some, and I've seen you post about this on social where there are some people who are link farms or something like that, where people connect to just like each other's comments, and then they might have tons of followers or they're resharing and rehashing other people's content, but it's not really authentic conversations and relationships. Can you talk a little bit more about your list? What makes a great creator and why?
Okay, so first, the number of followers right now in the social media industry in general and all social medias in general, it's not that important anymore. You wouldn't believe how many influencers we stumbled upon on LinkedIn, especially with literally hundreds of thousands of followers, and they have like 3 to 4 likes every post. It's because these social medias, even LinkedIn, they've been around for a while, so they have accumulated followers when they're like this first mover advantage. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Like seriously, the number of followers, forget about it. It's not important. Like for us, the way we do it, we take into account everything. So it's going to be, like you said, the engagement, but it's going to be the activity. It's going to be like the growth rate. And for us, the growth is super important because the ability still to get people following you through your content is super powerful. And we've noticed that the best creators usually, like even the smallest one, if you manage to go from 5,000 followers to 6,000 followers like within a week, it says something. Whereas having a lot of comments and a lot of likes right now, it can be easily cheated. Like you said, there are right now many engagement pods. What you were mentioning before is literally people having these big groups and they're like liking one another their posts. So we've noticed with Daniel, which I'm working with Daniel on a informal basis because he's passionate about this. He really wants to fight those practices, and we've noticed a lot of people using them. So that's where right now we're really trying to crack down on, and that's the reason why for us the engagement rate is not that important right now. It's going to be more about the growth. It's going to be more about the activity, and that's why you're going to see people with tons of followers, and they're not going to be in the top 200 because it doesn't have that much value anymore. And I think it's much more interesting also to have the like rising creators put in the spotlight, because our very mission at Favicon in the first place was really to highlight those creators, like even yourself. Maybe if you do great work, we noticed there was nothing, to reward them, to give them some sense of accomplishment. And you've seen all these lists before. I'm sure you've seen these top lists before, and they're all really biased because they're not based on real data. So it's going to be about who you know, about being friend with the person who does the list. And also, of course, it's not perfect on method, even though we've been working with a data scientist. There's always, the algorithm, what you're going to pick. There's always going to be some kind of human bias, but at least there's something tangible we want to rely on, and something that's not going to be, screwed by a by humans, to put it simply. So that's why we started our approach in the first place.
So let's talk about LinkedIn algorithm. So I know they recently changed it probably 2, 3 months ago, or maybe sometime last year. And
Yeah.
I know during LinkedIn has kind of ebbed and flowed. And in the beginning, it was like strict business, and you didn't talk about feelings or personal stuff on LinkedIn. Then the pandemic happened and changed everything, and people wanted that human interaction. We wanted to know that you're human, not just a corporate being, right? And so a lot of content during the pandemic, I know my content kind of happened during the pandemic, but the algorithm rewarded engagement, and a lot of the engagement were based on people who were authentic and told stories and all that other stuff. I feel like it's kind of changing back, where it's focused more so on content that is relevant to your profession opposed to personal. Like, I feel like the algorithm changes probably every 4, 5, 6 months. What can you can you talk more about the algorithm? Is it important for us the folks who are kind of watching this, understand it, know it, or write for the algorithm, or is that kind of BS?
Honestly, you should never ever have the algorithm in mind for two reasons. Because number one reason is you should be obsessed with being interesting. That should be your number one obsession. Number two, number three. Second reason is that no one knows for sure what's behind the algorithm. And if you follow like the LinkedIn gurus telling you about the algorithm, you're gonna end up in the end copying, pasting content that other people do, and you should never do that. You should really follow your own path. And of course, you should know, like in general, what works, what doesn't work, but really should never be right now in your mind. I think it's there's so much opacity when it comes to the LinkedIn algorithm. For sure, there's been some major changes. What I can say, first, like you said, there was like a time where selfies were super powerful. That was ridiculous. You could just take a selfie and have a lot of engagement, have a lot of reach. What we've noticed, first, right now, the short form posts work really well. So a la Twitter, if you do like a post with only like 2 or 3 sentences, it's super powerful. We've noticed that. So I don't know if there's like something scientific or something, if the algorithm is pushing this kind of content, but you know that LinkedIn is fighting hard to be an alternative to Twitter. So maybe since they're trying to be an alternative, they giving more power to this kind of content that's really reminiscent of what's on Twitter in general. You know, these two Twitch sentences on Twitter. So that's the number thing we've noticed. And the second thing is the video format, which works really well right now. So I know that LinkedIn, you know, they have big plans to do more videos for creators. So if you do videos, I think right now it's working really well. But again, there's no like transparency when it comes to algorithm. There is no street rule. What works for someone might not work for you. So it's good to know, but should never be an obsession.
Great. And we're gonna open it up for questions soon, but I want to read one comment. Carolyn, my real says, does anyone else get lots of followers that are simply people wanting to sell me some service? So I'm going to answer this because I know this from experience. When I first was like kind of on LinkedIn, I would literally accept everyone. That was a bad decision because literally my whole inbox were sales calls, sales calls, sales calls. So what I did was I enabled it where you needed to know my email in order to add me. And then I started being a lot more selective with who I accepted, I guess, in my connection. And that's it's not to be like elitist or anything. It's just basically you have so much bandwidth. And LinkedIn can get overwhelming, especially when you start having so many followers. And so there's ways that you can kind of curate your LinkedIn so that you only add your email. And I think it's really important to make sure you add connections that are real connections opposed to just trying to increase your follower count. I don't know if you have a POV on that, Jeremy.
I think when you're getting started, it's hard to distinguish sellers to others. So I think it'd be difficult to do that. But yeah, definitely can be overwhelming at the beginning. Honestly, I would disagree with you on that one. I think when you get started, you should not to discriminate too much because I don't think that matters. But just don't respond to them.
I love that. Okay, so we have a question from Malur Narayan. I'm going to spotlight you and unmute yourself and you can ask your question, Malur.
Hey, Lan, thank you so much. Hey, Jeremy, good to be on the session today. My question is related to impressions. You know, I post about 3 to 4 times a week on a bunch of topics. But I always find not all of them get, some of them only have 500 impressions. Some of them have thousands of impressions. And I'm not quite sure, if that, if there's a strategy there or, and what's the difference between impressions and views, I guess? Are impressions and views the same thing?
Thank you, Malur.
All right. So first, you need to do A/B testing. That's something super important when you do content. There's going to be a time, like an hour, which is going to be best for you. So maybe if you post at different hours, that might explain the difference. Again, I think people underestimate the importance of having a strict schedule. Really, I've talked to like lots of creators about this. You need to stick to a schedule. It needs to be a habit for people who follow you. So don't underestimate that. And at the beginning, do A/B testing and compare the results. There are many tools that exist, so you can do that. The second question, yeah, it's pretty much the same when impressions and views, just number of people who are going to view your post in their feeds.
And sorry, let me
Thanks a lot.
I'm gonna thank you, Miller. That was a great question. And I'm gonna give you kind of my advice just from a creator standpoint is just don't worry so much about the likes and the follows and the impressions. Just be yourself. Just focus on how can I help that one person reading this comment, because you're gonna get discouraged. Because initially, literally my brother was the only person reading my comments. Like literally the only person liking my comments. And now I have posts where there's 1 million impression and 30,000 likes. But those aren't more important than the ones that help that one person, even though there was 10 impressions or whatnot. So just kind of just post to help people and remove that notion of you have to have so many impressions or likes, because that's going to drive you crazy.
No, I agree. And
Yes,
I do get occasionally people walk up to me and say, weeks later saying, "Hey, I saw that post. It was really cool," even though they never engaged with my post.
Yeah, and isn't
Right?
that amazing that you change someone's perspective, or if you help someone? That's worth it. Don't worry about the impressions in the comments. Scott, you have a question. Scott, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question, or do you want me to ask your question, my good friend Scott?
I'll unmute.
Oh, you want me to ask it?
No, I'll unmute. I'm good. I can ask.
Okay, awesome. Hi, friend.
Hello, good to see you, Lan. And Jeremy, thank you for joining us today. So my question is on tools that people are using out in the space that help you to ideate, craft, and post. I use Buffer to put all my posts in. So, as things come to me, I can craft them, put them in Buffer, and they just go and shoot out. But other tools that people are using, I'd love to hear about.
well, there is this tool called Tapio. I'm gonna vouch for them, not because they're French, but also because I know many people who've been using it and they're really happy with it. And I think it's the number one tool when it comes to drafting your post, like you said, getting some inspiration. So I would definitely recommend Tapio.
What was the name?
Tapio.
Tapio.
Taplio.
Is it kind of like Hootsuite?
I've never used Hootsuite, but it's really dedicated to LinkedIn. So yeah, the LinkedIn version.
So, Jeremy, since you're the expert on Favicon, explain to us how are the folks who are on this call, how do you use AI? And I'm seeing a lot more AI posts on LinkedIn because you could clearly tell when an AI wrote a post. How do you feel about it? And I know your company uses AI to kind of congregate information, best practices, et cetera. But can we on the call use Favicon? How does it work? And how do you feel in general in terms of AI and using it for content?
Well, AI is great as support, but never get started with AI. Like always write your post. It can give you like good ideas about how to get your post structured. You can I ask all the time, like what do you think about this? Is the tone good for this kind of people? This kind of really qualitative questions, but never get started with can you write a post about this? It's never gonna work. You should always have some kind of structure ready before you play with AI. Like you said, for us, it was a massive step forward because we have all this data. And thanks to AI, we've been using it heavily to summarize everything, to get trends, this kind of stuff. And it's super powerful when it comes to summarizing stuff, getting the general ideas, etc. But it's never going to replace humans when it comes to creating content for the reason I mentioned before. There needs to be personal touch when you write content, and AI is never going to be able to replace you when it comes to this. And like I said before, there are many tools that exist that are like AI only content, and you just look stupid if you post like you said, it shows like all these AI generated posts. These people look ridiculous, and it's never going to bring them anything. The only thing that they're going to drive is AI generated comments. So it's you get all these people doing AI posts, and they're going to get all these AI comments. So it's just what's the point in the end?
This is more curiosity than anything. For probably 2 years, I would get these weird comments like with Elon Musk. Like it was like and I would see other like folks who are kind of on LinkedIn. Was that an AI? And why Elon Musk? It was basically something like something Elon Musk, and it would be like random people, and it seemed like it was a bot. Did you
On
ever
Twitter or LinkedIn?
LinkedIn? It was really strange. It wasn't Elon Musk. It was like followers, and they would be promoting Elon Musk. And I was thinking, this must be a bot, but why? Like, I don't understand some of these bots.
Okay, right now on Twitter is a plague, like tons of bots. It's horrible,
Yeah.
the experience right now. But for LinkedIn, I don't see actually that many bots. Like I said, I see many AI generated comments and people doing only this, but it's more subtle on LinkedIn. So no, I don't see about this kind of thing in my
Yeah.
experience.
I love that. Okay, so we have about a few minutes. Does anyone have one final question? Otherwise, I can ask a question. Anyone wanna brave enough to kind of unmute and ask their question? Otherwise, I will ask you a question. Or I can look under some of the questions. Let me look at some of the LinkedIn questions there. Okay, so last question, content optimization. Can you discuss some strategies for creating impactful LinkedIn content that really stands out? How do you ensure that your content is not only seen, but also remembered? And I think you kind of answered that earlier, but let's dig into that.
You need to find your own tone. You need to know what you're gonna talk about. Don't just be random stuff. Like, don't talk about the weather on Tuesday, then about sport on Wednesday. It's really, really important that people know what they're following you for. And that's the number one mistake that like beginning creators do, is that they think they just need to create content, because you got those LinkedIn gurus saying that you need to just create content. That's not true. You really need to find your own voice. So before you start to do these posts are going to take you time, really, okay, what do I want to talk about? What's my expertise? Do I want to have more like storytelling content? Do I want to talk about SEO because I'm a SEO expert? Do I want to talk about politics? The great thing about LinkedIn right now is that you can talk about pretty much anything. That wasn't the case at all like 2 or 3 years ago. It was super corporate. It was only business stuff. But right now, if you look at the Favicon Top 200, you're going to see like journalists, you're going to see politicians, you're going to see people talking about neuroscience. Anything is up for grabs. So you need to ask yourself, honestly, what do I want to talk about? And that's the reason why you should never like feel forced to do stuff. I'm sure there are many things you're interested in. So if you find something like a passion or something you really want to talk about, it's going to be much easier. So don't force yourself doing something because you think it's going to be successful. It's not going to work. At some point, you're going to get discouraged, because in the end, it takes discipline to create content in the long term. And if you're not interested in what you're doing, it's just not going to cut it.
I love that. Before I ask you final question, one more question, I want to read some comments in the LinkedIn comments. Robin Penoyer said something really powerful. I stopped being afraid of posting on LinkedIn when I decided to apologize later and go get what I want. Oh, I love that. I stopped being afraid when I realized that I had experience to share. That was from Lynn Brady. Terry Daughtery, I stopped being afraid when I realized it was okay to be the expert. Oh, that's so beautiful. So closing this up, Jeremy, how can we help you? How can we find you? And also, what's a one piece of advice you'd want to give to the folks who are kind of listening to this, whether in the live Zoom audience or watching this via live stream?
Don't be obsessed with or something. Just do something for fun. Life is fun. It should always be a game. If you gamify your LinkedIn experience, it's going to be much easier. If you see it as a game, like everything is going to be less of a grind. Like for us, for Favicon, I think there's something super interesting. It's going to be interesting for everybody that we're going to release in 2 weeks. We're going to release a new extension, which when you're going to install, it's completely free. You're going to be able to see like the stats of the creators, what kind of content they do, at what time they post. So I think that's something that's going to be super helpful for all creators to understand what other people do, what kind of content they produce. So I highly encourage you to follow me on LinkedIn, follow Favicon on LinkedIn, and we're gonna do major updates in the next few weeks.
Love that. And I will make sure to add the link for Favicon in the comments in the chats. Everyone in the Zoom audience, you know the deal, who are regulars. Put this in gallery mode. Turn on your video, unmute yourself. This is the only time I really, really ask you to turn on your videos, unmute yourself, because Jeremy deserves a round of applause.
Yay, thank you so much.
Thank
you.
Thank
you so
you for
much.
everyone
Thank
joining.
you.
And
Thank
homework
you.
for you guys. right after this call, I want you to post on LinkedIn if you're watching this right now, and I want you to tag me, and if Jeremy feel comfortable, Jeremy as well. Just for the next 24 hours, I will like and comment anyone that posts or comments me. You can post about anything. Not what you ate, but something about your, whatever you'd like. Post it on LinkedIn, comment, post, link me and Jeremy, and we will make sure to comment on it. Okay? Thanks, everyone. Bye. Keep on
Bye-bye.
Thank you
posting.
so much.
Thanks,
Can
Jeremy.
I ask a quick question or forget about it?
Sure. I'm gonna,
Okay.
sure. Do you want to ask your,
Yeah,
Jeremy?
Quick question for Jeremy, and you can probably
Yeah.
answer too. How important is it to have graphics or a photo with your post?
Oh, good question.
Honestly, I think it's pretty important when you get started because studies show that people get more attracted when there are visuals. So yeah, I would definitely encourage you to always add something. Like text can work, like I said before, but it will definitely help you to have visuals on top of your writing. Can
Yeah,
be
and
anything really.
I've done A/B testing where I've posted just the content and then content with image. Content with image always does better. And I think part of it is just that you want to hook people. And then when you see copy, all you see is the first 2 lines. So it's easy for your content to get buried. But if you have something visual, whether it's a photo, a quote, an image, something, a graph, it gets a lot more attention, in my opinion, and from A/B testing.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I'll be reaching out directly. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.